Yo, what up, guys? All right, so quickly we're getting into this. I'm working on how to do some VFX in Octane. Of course, I know how to do VFX and tracking in cycles, but in Octane, it's a little bit different. And, instead of always just showing off the perfect results, I'm going to show you the problems and problem solving. So I was doing this tracking here, and I've got everything set up, and I've got the rendered overnight. But this is the second time I've done tracking inside of Octane, or not tracking, I should say, rendering out my layers, because I composite them inside of DaVinci Resolve, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. But there's one thing that I keep having this issue. If you look here at the bottom of these bananas, and even right here, you can see where my cursor's at. We've got like this. It's like, it's what it is. It's repeating the HDRI, and it's like, I don't know, it's some weird HDR artifacting. Plus this track isn't the tightest, because if you look at this banana, we got some slip here happening. But I wasn't looking to do like a super tight track. I was mainly looking at how to export my layers out of Octane and into DaVinci. And what I did here is I have two layers. I have the object, which is the bananas, and I have the ground plane, which also has a shadow catcher on it. And then I have the shadow right here. So what I'm thinking the issue why I might be getting this weird little discoloration here, I think it has to do maybe with the shadow catcher, or I don't know exactly, but this is why I'm sharing this out. So maybe somebody who's done, compositing or exporting out these layers. Now, I just want to share the process, because it's not all rosy peaches and gumballs and stuff, right? Like this is the raw, right? This is the problems that you're going to deal with. Everybody always makes these YouTube videos, follow this step, and it's all perfect. No, I want to show you the real world. It's not always perfect. Most of the time it's not perfect, and you just got to deal with problems. So this is what I'm dealing with. It looks ugly. And yeah, let me quickly get into just showing you guys what I got here going. So in the file here, I do all my compositing in DaVinci. People, why don't you use Blender? Because Blender is too slow. The compositor is too slow to work in. It's just not feasible. It's not workable. And it's not really made for this type of stuff. Unlike DaVinci Resolve Fusion or Nuke or something like that, which this is what it's made for. It's made to do compositing. And it's a lot easier. So here's my setup, which is not that complicated. Again, I'm like literally trying to figure out a workflow coming from Octane to Fusion, because I have my workflow down for cycles. Like it was very easy to set up for cycles. Well, not easy, but I will say my workflow was pretty set. Now, why do I want to use Octane? Sorry guys. Because I like the way Octane renders the light. Like, look at this lighting on this banana. This is literally just one HDRI that I did cook. I cooked an HDRI out of this using my my old iPad, and made an HDRI using the HDRI app. So really cool app that you can make, look it up. EIY HDRI. And that's all the lighting I'm using in here, and this looks fantastic. It looks great, right? And it's just something about Octane, the way it handles light, like it's fantastic. I love it. So I'm trying to work on my workflow here now. Quickly to show you, let's break it down to the rawness here. If I just take this out, and I'll take this out, these two here, this one here, what do I press? Friction F12. This is my shadow. And then this one was my object. I'm just gonna say OBJ. Okay. And to quickly show you, if I drag this here, boom, there's my shadow layer that I brought in from Octane, right? Got the shadows on there, worked out nice. I'm happy with that. Then here's my banana layer. Figured out how to separate them. We're going to go into Blender in a minute here, and I'll show you guys how I separated them, if I can remember. I mean, I know how, but it's just complicated. One thing you got to note, which I love Octane for, when you render out stuff like this, look at the edge. It looks horrible. People are like, dude, that's wrong. That looks gross. Why is it like that? because this is how they work in Hollywood or like in VFX pipelines. This is how they work. This is has not been pre-multiplied, so the alpha is being, it's raw, like this edging here. This is so I can do all my grading, and then I multiply this back, basically kind of like closing the capsule, and then that's how you do it. That's the proper workflow. Okay, so typically if stuff that when you have an alpha channel with the image, right now the alpha is not pre-multiplied, so it looks very choppy. Okay, and then when I multiply that, it's gonna bring it back. So for example, if I take this node here, which we have alpha multiply the alpha channel. Okay, so if I take that and I go ahead and pipe that in, plug that straight into there, take this, come over here, and I'm gonna plug it, just for now, I'm gonna plug it into my viewer, my main output. Matter of fact, I keep forgetting that I'm working in Fusion. I don't even have to do that. I can just show you the view from here. If I just drag this over here, boom. Now look at the edge. Nice and clean. That's basically, so Cycles automatically does this in post when it renders it. So like when you're working with Cycles and stuff, you need to do the opposite. You need to break that. You need to divide it. So if you divide the or instead of multiplying it, you divide it and it'll separate it, right? But Octane already renders it out like this because it knows the workflow. Okay, so again, here's without, and then multiplying that edges, there it is. So typically you want to do all of your grading, color stuff, and manipulation after, or in this case, before you multiply it, right? And then you multiply it final. And I even do my blur after I multiply it because it gets you get some weird edges. So I'm gonna put this back in my pipeline. Okay, and I have all these muted, so let me unmute these really quickly. Control P. Actually, it's not muted, it's just missing the thing here. So I'm going to plug my object back in to here, my color correct, and you're going to see what I basically did. Let's come in here, P, mute that, P, mute that, and you guys saw that. Let's go ahead and P, mute that blur node too also. And we're multiplying our edge. I'm gonna go ahead and mute that also. So this is what it came in straight up. So what I typically do from here, after I get my background layer in, we'll go ahead and separate everything so we can rebuild this with you guys. And here's my output. I work in up and down because I learned that from Nuke when I was playing in it, and that's pretty much how the industry standard works, and a vertical down the bottom. Here is my background. F2, let's go ahead and go BG. All right, and we pipe our background all the way to the output. So I'm gonna pipe it straight down. And my layer wrap, I'm gonna unstick it for right now just so we can get this. And the bada bing, drag that over there. Okay, and this is what we see. This is my background coming through a merge node to another merge node. There's nothing to merge on top of that, so we're getting a straight signal to our output. Okay, here's the background, background. Here's the background, background, same thing. Now what I want to do is I want to lay down my shadow first. I want to lay my shadow here. So here's my shadow. I'm going to take my shadow and I'm just going to grab that and I want to merge it on top of my video. Boom. There's a shadow. Shadow pops in there. You can see that, right? If you want to see the shadow by itself, there's a shadow by itself. It's coming through here. I can even view it from this point on here, and that's the same thing, which is being sent to the output. If I come up here, we don't see anything. Why? Because we're looking at it from this point to the viewer, and there's nothing happening. There's just the background. This is not connected yet. Okay, so then I come down to here. Now we got that. Okay, let's go to the final output. There's a final output. So now we want to add our bananas on top. So to add our bananas on top, we gotta zoom out here, grab these guys, just drag them up. Take my bananas, plug them into the merge. Sorry guys. Okay, so now what are we seeing? Well, we've got our bananas connected to this merge. Here's our bananas with no shadow. And Look at those edges. They're not multiplied yet. It's just the raw render. Let's think about it like that. It's the raw render. Okay. Here's my shadow down here. I want to see it with the shadow. Now I take my shadow. There it is. There's my shadow layer. Okay. And just even me doing this like this in Blender, like it has to like load. Okay. Now you can see it. I can't work like that. That's why I don't use Blender for compositing. Everybody's, why don't you composite in Blender? Because Blender's too slow. Okay, and there's my output. Now we want to fit this into the scene a little bit better. Well, I tried to get the lighting as close as possible to the background to save me work in this part, to save me this work. So it looks okay. To me, one thing, the saturation is a little bit too bright. Maybe also the sharpness, the banana is like super sharp, and then you can see the background here is a little bit blurry. One thing I failed to do was set up my depth of field. Like really, you want to get your depth of field. I like to get my camera depth of field to match my background as close as possible, so I don't have to worry about too much blurring. Okay, or you can export out a Z depth, which I didn't do because I'm just getting the basics here. Okay, so we can see that we need saturation and the levels, the whites. You can see that white back there's a little bit more brighter than this white here, even though this is not pure white. This is where people use those color charts to really, you put a color chart on your background footage somewhere in the shot, so eventually you can check the white and black values against your CG. It helps. I've done it a couple times in the past. It does help. But at this moment, I wasn't worrying about that because I wanted to just get the workflow go. So now what can we do? Well, let's try to match that a little bit better. So I want to adjust my levels, like my white and black levels. Okay. And the one way that I do it, just reading and watching other tutorials about compositing and stuff, is I like to go to the color values and switch this to red. Here's our red values. So it's kind of a little bit easier to see what the whites are doing, and the whites and blacks are the two keys that you really gotta that really help set your CG into the scene, right? And I can see here, even to the ground looks a little bit more brighter, right? Now, if you want to get crazy, if you see down here in the bottom where it says DaVinci Resolve 18.6, if you see this bar right here, as I scroll over, you'll start seeing values. So you'll see red and green, blue values, which will be right around in this area here on the bottom left. And you can kind of use that to help you gauge. That's where the checker will come in. If I had a white card, I would literally hover my cursor over the white card, see what my red, what green, blue values are. So we got 74 for red, we got 0.72 for green, and we got 0.65 for blue. Just an average. So I will break it down 74, 72, 65. And then try to find, you know, a white value or somewhere of a high white value on my banana to try to get somewhere close. 76, 80, 77, right? But again, we're just matching. I'm not being too scientific about this right now, because it's just practice. So right now I'm just gonna eyeball it. So what I typically do is I'll bring in a color curve, and I'll go ahead and drop this on the stream, holding shift, release that. And again, Blender, DaVinci Resolve is free also. I'm using the free version. I'm not using a paid version or anything like that. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? One moment, small commercial break. I forgot to post this link into my community so they can join along in viewing, because they might want to do that. So quickly here, let me throw that in there. Here's our Blender Octane community for those who are serious about Octane. And let me jump into YouTube real quick. View my channel. And there's my live video. And grab the link here really quickly. Like I try to schedule. Oh, hang on. I try to schedule these videos sometimes, or these live streams, and the last 4 that I scheduled, literally 10 minutes before I was supposed to post or go live, something came up and I had to do it. Daughter was sick, had to go pick her up from school early. So it's like jinxing me. So I'm just not going to be scheduling these things because it's a jinx. Every time I've scheduled one, something's came up and I had to just abandon it. So I'm just gonna continue just posting whenever I do. It's like weird, right? Here we go, playing in Octane VFX, right? And what time is it right now? It's 1:57. Okay, good. My daughter gets out of school early today again, so I don't have that much time as like I would want to. I'm gonna go ahead and put that there, and we'll put duration an hour, even though it might be not. And available for all members, yes. Okay, so if you're not aware of the Blender Octane community, it's a community that we're just all people who are hardcore about Blender Octane, right? And it's hard to get information, so it's better this way. We got great minds working together, and we're all figuring out problems. Sorry, guys. And it's cool, and we're building up this node database system. We're actually doing a challenge right now. We're doing a challenge, a default cube challenge, where you can't change the size of the default cube, but you can do whatever you want. So that's our thing here. We just started building up our node database, which is a collection of nodes. Hang on here. This thing is super slow here. Oh, there we go. It's a collection of nodes. Like I can literally just type in here node database and then hit enter. It's going to show me all of these different like node pattern setups. Like here we go. We got tile patterns with node triangles, and if you click in here and you click on it, it's going to show you the setups and the nodes that you need to achieve that setup. If everything will load, because I'm streaming, so and I've actually got some I think we got some slowness happening on the stream here. Let me kill Blender in the background. I mean YouTube in the background. That's probably not helping. Okay, so this is typically like, hey, if you want to try to get this type of pattern, this is the node setup you would need, and it just goes on, and it's been slowly growing. Here, check this out. Surface pattern bumps, scratches, right? And then what you want to do to try to get a scratch pattern, if you want to build that procedurally, these are, oh, you know what? I know what's wrong with the stream. I'm actually on my home internet. I need to switch over to my Wi-Fi. Hang on. Wondering what's wrong here. My OBS keeps sending me these red lights like, yo, the stream is lagging, and I'm like, I never get red lights. What's going on? Connected. Yes, it has reconnected, so we did lose this thing. Okay, great. That was what the issue. So anyway, anyways, and you can see here playing with procedural scratches and things like that. Database is growing. We just started also a new lighting database for node setups with lighting, how to, procedural stuff again, how to set it up. There's the nodes that you need, and there's the look that you want. And it's exciting times. It's the birth of something new, right? It's exciting times. There's the node setup, and there's the look, right? Super cool. And we're doing that also with material database. With the materials is even more powerful because we're uploading our files. So here it is. You can download the file, and then here's the pattern. So you got this beautiful scratch plastic, paint thing happening here. Absolutely. Look at the detail. I love that. And then you can download the file. It's right there. Super fantastic, right? Some people pay $5 a month just to get access to people's videos. Well, here you're getting the same thing, but you're getting access to a community. You're getting access to materials, lighting, setup, database. Here's the classroom. I'm putting massive amounts of Octane related videos for Blender, mainly Blender, right? Some are old, some are new, and it's really, really cool. We're on our second page of just videos, right? So enough of that, but if you guys are interested, links down in the description. Back to the thing. So again, I typically do my grading using this curves, and the curves will allow me to look. Now I'm like, since we're looking at the red channel, what I'll typically do is come in here, select the red curve, and then make my adjustments here. So I can come in here and make what we're not seeing anything right now because it's muted. So let me go ahead and hit undo, come back, unmute that, Control P. Right, so now I can make adjustments to my values, right? If I want to make adjustments to the highs or if I want to make adjustments to the lows. And this just really helps us to set that up. And I can go channel by channel. So I typically will like, okay, how does everything look in the reds? Okay, that looks okay, a little bit more balanced. Sorry guys, I'm on fire today. Here I go to the green value, then I'll switch over here to the green slider. Again, make some adjustments. And then we'll go to the blue slider, to the blue. And then again, you come over here to your blue, make some adjustments. And then once I'm finished, then we'll come back here to full RGB mode. And that will really help us get in the ballpark of what the values should be, the black and white values, you know. Then the saturation is a little bit heavy, right? So it's a little bit heavy on saturation. So then I'll grab a color correct. We'll pipe that into the stream, make sure that's connected, unmute it. And then in here, I'll come back and this is where I'll start to pull out some saturation. Like, okay, the mids to me seem a little bit high in the saturation. So again, I can just saturate or pull it up, pull it down, right? So I pulled that down a little bit. That gets it to blend in a little bit more. Okay, that looks a little bit better. And then from there, typically, after I've done all that color correction and color bending, right? Now we take our alpha node, our multiply, and now we put a cap on all that stuff. We multiply it, boom, and there it goes. So now our edges are nice and clean there. There's our edges, nice and clean, right? See, there should have been a little bit of depth of field on this. I didn't set the depth of field because this edge is so harsh and so sharp compared to the background. Look at the video. It's a lot more blurry, so I should have had, and even I'm still getting some more artifacting in here. I don't figure out where that's coming from, right? That's the whole point of this right now. Just trying to figure out how to problem solve this stuff, right? And that's where you just got to get in, roll up your sleeves, and get in and do it. You can't just sit and watch YouTube videos all day on tutorials on that. You just really got to get in and do it. Okay, so and I know that it's a little bit sharp, so what I ended up doing was grabbing this blur node. Drop this blur node after I've done my multiplication here. I could be wrong on how that's working, but I was trying to just like, you know, get it as close as I possibly can. Again, the depth of field will help, or a Z depth would help on this here, but I didn't do that pass and I got to figure out how to set that pass up, you know, so this is the point. So that looks a little bit better, right? And I don't even think I had any motion blur rendered out here. I didn't even turn it on. So again, it was kind of a crude setup. I wasn't expecting to share this out, but now I am, like, because I want to show you guys the process, because a lot of people are not sharing the process. Everybody on YouTube is just showing their results and not getting down and showing you when things go wrong, right? So next, then we have our shadow. I didn't do too much to the shadow here. It was a nice overcast, foggy day. There wasn't really, not foggy, but overcast day, and there really wasn't any hard shadows in anywhere in the actual that day. I remember the day well. That's why I shot this HDR. I'm like, oh, it's a good overcast day, no shadows, no harsh shadows. This will be a good day to make an HDR. So that's what I did, and I shot some video just for the heck of it, thinking maybe I can practice. So the shadow, which is right here, you can see there, I was like, okay, well, it's a little bit too strong, because it wouldn't have been this strong in real life because there's no sun out, like it's being covered by clouds. So then what I did is I throw this color adjustment over it, and then I just took a little bit of color out of it. Like I knocked down the blues a little bit, because shadows are not pure black, right? They're not real pure black. Depends on the day and what's around and how the light's being reflected. So I've got that. And then what I did, I come to the merge node, and then I even lowered it a little bit, because like this is 100% right here, and it's definitely not there, right? So I knocked it back a little bit, trying to, this is again, the more reference you give yourself when you're shooting your footage, the better. Like I was trying to use this little bit of reference shadow here. Typically what I like to do is I'll shoot the shot that I want to add my VFX, and then it depends if you have somebody to help you or not. Then I'll put the camera on a tripod, then I'll stand in the area just so I can see how the shadow falls off of me, what the shadows are looking like, just giving myself more reference. Okay, there's no pole in here. There was a pole back here, but you really couldn't see it too well. So even if let's mute that really quick. So if I come over to here, and if I just go ahead and mute that, you can see our pole there in the background. Like, where's the shadow? Like, see, it's like really no shadow. That it was a really overcast day. And even back here, I look at these bikes, there's no shadow being casted. So it was really a not good day for shadows. So do that, Control P. I keep forgetting to use this little map up here. Like I'm always like scrolling. Just use the map, dude. It's so much easier, right? Look at that. Boom. All right, so that was it for the shadow. Like, again, not really too much on it. But now what I like to do is I like to do a light wrap. And if you're familiar with After Effects, there's a lot of After Effects videos about light wrap. Again, the light wrap is just going to help us to integrate this CG into the scene a little bit. Now, I built my own light wrap here. I followed a couple of videos on DaVinci Resolve, how to build a light wrap. And then I saved it as my own plugin here in DaVinci. Sorry. So what we're going to do with the light wrap is how it works. Oh, sorry. Man, I'm on fire today. The light wrap works by taking the background and then essentially it just blurs the background. It blurs it out, and then it kind of like uses the alpha from the CG and kind of just inverts the edges so we get bleeding. So it bleeds into the banana edge. So like this dark area will bleed into here and then this edge here to help it to give it the illusion that light is actually wrapping around it. So for example, let's get somewhere good, like maybe right around here. You'll notice it, we're in the highlight areas. Okay, now the way it works, I want to take out my background. I want my shadow, so I need this, plug that there, and then I need my foreground, which is going to be I'm going to do it after or before the blur because I think it's going to be double blur, right? I'm going to take the signal from here and I'm going to plug it into here. Now, this is the best thing about node-based compositing versus layers, stacking all these layers and making the pre-composite layers. When you're working in layers, you just grab whatever you want and plug it in. I don't have to worry about this layer and pre-compositing this layer, then double-clicking on that layer and going into all these layers. It's just nonsense. Like, once you learn node compositing, you realize how wasting time you wasted using layers and how content video. It's just way better, right? There's no true VFX house using layer-based After Effects style for compositing. They're all using node-based, right? So I want to pull my background, plug it into this node here, and then we want to see this output. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull this output into the output there, and there's our layer wrap. So now what we're going to see here, if I come in and zoom in here, let's back out a little bit. Let me get a really good area so you can notice it. Maybe even, oh, right here, you can already see it slightly happening. I'm going to really crank it up to exaggerate it. So for example, where is it at? I think glow size. Okay, see that? That's no glow. That's 100% glow. But check it out. Now look at that. You can see the banana, like see how it's like wrapping around that. You see that? That's the power of the let's go to this one here, glow. This is the actual, there it is, boom. So let me back it out so you can really see this. This is what's happening. We're adding a glow, we're blurring it, just giving it a little bit of brightness. All right, so if I crank that up like that, and then I grab this, now you can see what I'm doing. I'm playing with that. So this just really helps you to get that look that it's sitting in the scene. And then I can grow that or contract that. So there it is. That's obviously way too much. And then here's the opposite. It's not enough. You know, you can get a little bit more. So you just literally play with this and try to get that. And then we got the gamma. We want to crank that up a little bit. We want to bring it down the edge. Again, it's just trial and error, and then playing with these settings here to get your thing set up here. So that was what we do. I add a layer wrap in here, and again, that layer wrap, you really want to be subtle with it. Again, it's not about this layer wrap, it's all about the bananas sitting in this field. That's what it is. So if people come in and go, wow, why does the edges of the bananas look so glowy? You've went way too much over. A lot of this stuff is here just to help make this the star of the show. And then what I also did, actually, I don't think I did it here, but you can clearly see I needed more samples in my render. Look at the render samples way off. And again, I wasn't trying to do a full show and tell render. I was working on workflow. So I would definitely crank these render samples up. I will definitely get my camera, get the proper depth of field. And even in the future, I will get me a setup for my Z pass depth, so I can just do a Z depth blur on there, and that will just really save the render time instead of having to do it in the camera. So that's pretty much it. And then what I'll normally do in DaVinci, go to the next tab, which is the color tab. I'll come over here, and then I added in some color, right? I'm using a plugin, which is called Dehancer, and I've just added some grain on top there, and I've added some bloom, and I'll add a little bit of film damage, and I added a little bit of halation, and you can barely see the halation there, a little bit right there, a little bit of halation that I added there, and then a little bit of a film grain. That film grain really just brings those highlights and brings them in the check, kind of knocks them down a little bit. Okay, so that's that. Let me quickly, I hope it didn't save, and I think it just did save, whatever. Let me quickly show you the Blender file now. Now, the Blender file, I'm not gonna lie, I was fighting with it to get it to work. Like, man, I couldn't get my layers to separate like I wanted to. And it's been a while since I've actually done a VFX shot in Octane, because I've been so focused on just learning Octane, learning the materials, learning how things run. And I hadn't gotten, I was trying to get back to what my original channel was all about, was literally, if I go back to my beginning stages of this channel, it's all about VFX, because I love doing VFX. It's so cool. I think it's really fun. So again, we come back in here and we scroll all the way down here. I want to go a little bit, and there's another one I did there too, again trying to learn it, but that was like, man, 4 months ago. That was the last time I did a VFX shot, kind of. So again, this is if you're into VFX, you really want to see my workflow from Blender and the whole workflow using DaVinci Resolve. This is using cycles. I was using cycles, and I do the whole workflow through all the videos, step by step, right? You go all the way from the beginning to the end. So again, here you can see in the beginning of my channel, it's just all about VFX. That's all I was doing, VFX daily, literally. But a lot of this stuff was all cycles, right? And I knew studying VFX, I kept hearing that name Octane pop up so many times, and I knew in the past playing with Octane that it was industry standard, especially for like VFX and things like that. So take a look at some of those older videos there. They're really fun, and that's what I'm trying to get back into my VFX workflow here. So let's come back over here, bring open this file. Now here is the file. We got the bananas there. Here's my camera. Jump over here first. It all starts off with the camera track, right? Here's my camera track. Here's my solve error was a 0.21. I did record me doing the tracking process. I might release that video, probably end up releasing it. I didn't speak on it, so it was just kind of me doing the tracking, right? It's simple. So I took only the part that I really wanted to use, which was this part here. And once I do that, I bring it in, got my plane set up. I come over back into the layout. And I think what I did was I ended up messing with my camera. I ended up changing a few things, which I think made my track a little bit off. Like it made it a little bit of a, you can see a little bit of a slide happening on my footage. I was messing around with this. This was, I think, 35 or 36 originally, and I kind of tweaked to 38, and I think that kind of put my track off a little bit. All right. But what I'm having an issue was with whenever I did it in cycles, I can come in here and I will just fire up my render and the background will be fine, right? But now that I'm using Octane, look how dark the background is, right? And this is what I was struggling with to try to get my levels, because normally I would use that video in the background and the CG to try to get my levels to match as close as possible before I leave here. But the video, because of the view transform for Octane, Octane wants it to be raw, right? And that's why the video was shot in 720, not 720, Rec 709. It's not shot in raw. So in order for my video to look right, I need to switch it to standard. Now the video looks right, but the CG is not right now. The CG is blown out and over white because why? Octane needs it to be set to raw. Now the CG is right, but the video is off. So like I was trying to figure out how the heck can I fix this problem? Because it was killing me. That right there ruined my workflow, because that's how I would really try to get the lighting to match, was by just using the background. So you think, oh, just go to change the color space on the video. It doesn't work. So I come over here to my color space. Here it is, color space, sRGB. Okay, well, can I just change this to like non-raw or something? Well, I don't even see raw. And then I was like, okay, well, let me just change it to something else, anything else, right? Nope, I couldn't really find the one that I needed. And that one was closer, but that's really still not right. Aces, you know, so it was like just going through these. Oh, wow, actually linear DCI P3 D65 that actually is kind of close. Linear Rec 2020 is actually kind of close too. Whoa, linear Rec 709. Okay, I feel dumb now. I didn't go through all of them. Well, I was actually at work while I was trying to do it, so it was in between my lunch, in between my classes. I have 10 minutes in between classes, so I was like jumping in here. Okay, try this. Okay, that's looking like that's working right there. That might be actually non-color. Let's go to non-color. I think I've just solved another tick in the problem, guys. I'm glad I did this stream, because I wouldn't have figured that out. Let me go back here and let's go to raw and change that to standard. Okay, of course it's gonna look off because it's not, I've changed it. Okay, I think I've got it. Okay, so that's already one step in here. We've got it. So if you're doing any type of compositing or VFX shots in here, when we go, we need to turn our color space for our footage either to non-color, definitely not Rec 2020. I think non-color works the best. Linear Rec 709 actually works really good. I think I think it's gonna be that one. Okay, and that's it. And then boom, if I go ahead and bring in my proxy, I had a 50% proxy video. Uh-oh, I think it's gonna crash. Oh no, it's not. Boom, there it is. Okay, that's cool. One problem already solved. Now let's get into the compositing section here. So trying to separate my passes was kind of an issue. Like, I kind of forgot how it was. So let me switch to this to, yeah, Octane render AOVs. So what I did was, I first went up here. You got to make a new one, and then click add quick node tree, and it pops this tree in here, right? And then this was not here. It was like sitting like this. So what I literally did was, I know I wanted to have shadows. I wanted to have black layered shadows. So I clicked on this, go to posit it, open up render layers, black layer shadows. Okay, that's this. So then I plug that into AOV1. And then from there, I go into, where's it at? Passes up here. I activate this Octane render layers. Now, my ground plane. Let me make sure first of all. But click on my ground plane. Then you come to the blue button here, your transform tab. Scroll down here. Now that we activated our object layers, here is my render layer ID. I gave the background for my ground plane a layer of 1, and I have all of these checked. Now, I'm wondering if one of these has to do why I'm seeing that little bit of, and I showed you in the beginning of the video, I had this little halo here on the bottom that was kind of, see, I'm gonna have to probably try rendering out passes without this. But anyways, so I have this set to render layer 1. And if your object is like deforming, like this is just kind of like these static bananas, they're just moving, right? They're not really changing their geometry like it's like a soft body or anything, right? That's not happening. If that was happening, you render it, it won't move in the render. It'll move in the viewport, but it won't move in the render. You'll have to change it to reshapeable mesh. Like here, Octane reloads the full mesh and evaluates every frame. This is useful for deforming mesh types like fluid or soft bodies or cloth. You'll have to switch it to that. You have to switch it to that for it to work, okay? So I don't have that. This is just a movable proxy right here. Now, this is the downside about using Octane. Like, it loads the geometry every frame. It loads it. Like, so my render time on this was 14 seconds about a frame. It spun 7 seconds loading the geo, and then the rest was all rendering. So I lost 7 seconds because every frame it's uploading the geometry. Unlike Cycles does it on the first frame, and then after that it just renders it. So, you know, it's kind of like you're gonna deal with Cycles. It's gonna be quicker, but on Octane you get that Octane look, but you got to deal with that. Unless you take this geometry and then bring it into the standalone version, which I don't have, so we're not gonna get into that. Okay, so again, my ground plane is set to 1. Then the bananas I have set to 2. You see here, the bananas are set to 2. Okay, all the bananas are set to 2 because we want those ones to be, I guess, like separated from our ground plane. Then we go back here to our layers, and this is checked. Okay, and then I come in here and I say, hey, activate layer ID 2. Anything that has an ID of 2, mask it off. Mask it off the floor. Don't show it, basically. Let me see if it's gonna show right now. Okay, well, now you don't see the ground because the ground's a shadow, but you don't see the shadow right now either because we have this activated, right? So if I turn this off, I don't see a shadow either. Let me switch this back to 1. Okay, there, boom. You switch it to 1. Now it's like, you see what's happening. It needs to, for it to work, it needs to be anything but 1. Go to 2. Now there's the bananas are being separated from off the background. This floor plane. The floor plane will have the shadow and this won't. Now, what I had an issue was, how did I can't remember. That was set to 2. That's set to 2. Okay, good. And then when I come back here to my object, good. My ground plane is set to 1. And then come here. These are set to 2. So when I render the frame, it separates it. Let me just do a frame render really quick so we can see it. If it doesn't crash. It's another thing. I've been having a lot of issues. My little laptop it crashed on me so many times. Not like a crash, like freeze the whole computer, nothing's moving. I can't even restart it. I have to literally like hold the power button down to and do a force restart. So I'm wondering if my little laptop GPU is coming to its dying days. I don't know, or was it just getting too hot or something? I think maybe because it only happens at work. Normally at home I have my desk fans on and my laptop stand fan on, which you can probably hear in the background. Okay, boom, it's done. So 18 seconds, right? Now if we go here to composite, now I have my beauty. There's the beauty layer. And now black layer shadows. Here's that tab. Boom, there's the black layer shadows, right? So now that's how you export out your different layers, right? But for me, I'm still getting that issue when we saw the video of this discoloration happening at the bottom, which I don't know exactly. See there? It's like something is going on there. It's on the bottom of everything. That I don't know what's going on there. And I got to figure that out next. So the only way I'm going to figure that out is by doing re-renders and doing more renders and trying to figure out maybe like, okay, do I need to turn off something? To me, if it's, I know what it is. It's the HDRI. It's the HDRI moving, but like, I don't know how to, why is it not showing up everywhere else? And it's just showing up on the bottom edges. So yeah, I don't know. But I just wanted to share this out a little bit before I get on to my project here. Sorry guys, the camera's not plugged in today. the let me see if I can fire up the other camera here for a moment. And the other camera's not firing up, but that's pretty much it for today. We have a community challenge we're starting this week from Monday till next Monday, which is all about like I said, the Blender default cube. So that's gonna be fun. So what I kind of want to do for my entry was something that involved some tracking, because that's what I'm getting back into, some VFX tracking, and I just wanted to share that little bit of love here. What else is happening new here? Need material help. Need help with materials. Any idea how to make this? What are we looking at here? Oh, some type of pumpkin material, like. And this is what's cool about, like, we all just try to help each other, right? Work in progress, playing around with Custom Painter. Gonna be streaming some live stuff again. Here we have Hassan. If you guys not checked out his stream, definitely check out his stream. He does some incredible stuff, like in literally one stream, like fantastic. He was a big inspiration for me to like really buckle down and get back onto my train here. And then we just had a new another again procedural lighting setup, like how to get these procedurally without having to load in, you know, light maps and things like that. And he actually saves the file. It's a group node, so we can just basically dial in those easily. Really cool, gives you lots of flexibility. So alrighty guys, Patrick LeVar, keep rendering. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Keep rendering. It's the only way you'll get better. Peace.